Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next City of Echoes chapter analysis video. This one's going to be for chapter 25. Just before we start, I'll mention I do have YouTube channel membership and Patreon available if you'd like to help support the channel. And if you come in at the higher tier, you'll gain early access to videos in this series. And I think we're at the point now where I'm pretty sure in terms of the videos around the time this one releases, you're probably like 8 to 10 chapters ahead of kind of the public release, and that's just the way it's working out for my schedule. But we'll jump in here. We're only doing 25 here just because I think this is quite an important chapter, because this is where there's a kind of turning point within the book. Jin goes from, you know, I'm involved in the Silver Fangs to make money to get Susu out. She thinks it's going to be this very kind of simple business deal. Once she makes enough money, she can just pay the people and they get Susu back. End of story. But we know there's stuff happening in Ba Sing Se that's going to kind of get in the way, and coming up very soon just with the plot of ATLA. And then this is the chapter where she finally gets sort of brought into the idea that the conspiracy in Ba Sing Se is kind of like bigger than you think. And so Smellerbee and Longshot kind of reveal more of the details surrounding what happened with Jet. And we end this chapter with Jin kind of like basically realizing she has to do something bigger to get Susu back, which I think is fascinating. But we'll get into it here. So again, where we are here, we're in the monorail. We're on our way back to the lower ring, and Susu, or Susu Judy, is kind of there on her own. So Jin feels she has an opportunity to speak to her and hopefully get an open response, because there's no one around that she should have to keep up the kind of air of like, oh, I'm an upper ring person now around. So there might have been a concern before, but that shouldn't be there alone on the monorail. So she goes straight up to her, kind of waves at her, is like, hey, she gets no response, of course. Continues to not be the person that she knew from before, of course. Yeah, it's me, Jane, your friend, do you remember? And she says, my name isn't Susu, you've mistaken me for someone else. She tries to convince her, it's just me and my friends here. You don't have to pretend there aren't any guards around, that's that. Susu's just like, oh yeah, your friends seem like pleasant people, are you new to the city? And just tries to completely take the path down a different road. She brings up the idea, do you not remember when we met like 3 years ago? Absolutely kind of nothing, of course. Jin even in her head thinks like, has she suffered like a head injury or something like that? Is that why she literally doesn't remember anything at all? And then we get the absolute final part of this reveal, just in case you weren't kind of following along exactly. But apologies, I do not recognize this name you're calling me. My name is Judy. So there we have it. She calls herself Judy. Absolute confirmation. Big moment. I do wish there was, to a certain degree almost, there was a way to do that where that comes across like a little bit kind of clearer, rather than it being so obvious for a while now that that's the case. Maybe they could have done a big reveal about it during the first meeting, but it makes sense, I think, with what they overall reveal in this chapter, with Smellerbee and Longshot kind of bringing her up to speed with the whole situation there. So yeah, Judy tries to kind of, just be like, oh, if you're in need of assistance, you can go to this place, bring out the facts, the memorized information, of course, from the brainwashing. Jin tries to get a little bit more personal, like, okay, talk about her family. Grandmother Wen is being treated by Dr. Jan. Her health has been poor lately. Do you care about her? And Susu's just kind of like, I'm sorry to hear about her ailments. I'm glad she's able to get the help that she needs. Like, she gets no immediate, like, big emotional response from mentioning this. Which is one of those ones where, like, I suppose with the brainwashing, you have to hit on, like, the big thing for that person to break them through the brainwashing. We'll see what that is much later on, but for now, Jin doesn't have any idea of, like, that's the case necessarily. Brainwashing hasn't come up yet. We know that's the case, but Jin doesn't. And then, yeah, Jin kind of snaps at this point and like begins to make a bit of a scene. Thankfully, there's no one really else on the monorail, so it's not causing much of a problem right now. But Smellerbee kind of comes over and is like, no, stop it, Jin. We're almost at the station. There's going to be guards there. You it's over, like your time is pretty much done. And so they arrive at the station, and she's basically forced to back off, like accept that nothing's going to happen here. And obviously the people at the station who Susu goes to join up with are the Dai Li. And she's in her head asking the question, like, what are you doing? Like, what's going on? Why are you doing this? Who are you working for? Smellerbee again is emphasizing, you're going to get us caught. You're not going to be able to save your friend if you don't leave here with us right now. And she has to accept being kind of brought away by them. So they make their way away. They sit down somewhere to kind of, discuss kind of what just happened there. Smellerbee and Longshot kind of are like, what's going on here? Jin interprets this initially as they think she's crazy, and she kind of says as much. And Smellerbee's just like really, really earnestly, softly just says, Jin, we believe you. We know that is your friend. Longshot says his longest sentence so far in the book. The Dai Li are the agents of the Grand Secretariat, Longshot explains. There was a conspiracy against the Earth King that the Avatar was able to stop. And she's like, she stares at him because like she's never heard him say that many words together. So like it really kind of hits her. How do you know this? It's been kept hush hush. They don't want to spread panic through the city, except we know better. And they then give the full context, I suppose, for Jet. So obviously they talked about the positive sides of Jet in the aftermath of the kind of funeral scene, of course. What they highlight here, the friend that we buried on the Weeping Hills, we didn't tell you everything about how he died. Once we were all part of a rebel group, we weren't just stealing to survive when we lived outside of Gaipan, and we were actively attacking Fire Nation forces. We were fighting back. Until the Avatar found us and showed us we were going about it in the wrong way, people didn't have to get hurt. Our group split up not long after. We came to Ba Sing Se for a fresh start, just the three of us, me, Longshot, and Jet. But then Jet was certain that these two refugees we encountered were Fire Nation spies. He wasn't willing to let it go. There's something really wrong with Ba Sing Se. We tried our best to fit in. When we couldn't save Jet, we knew that there was no pretending any longer. So they're telling the kind of truth. She then kind of reciprocates here and basically like says the kind of parts of what's going on with her that they don't quite know. So we get the idea of them going from being kind of allies, teammates, to kind of being properly trusted friends here. So you know that they're going to be sticking around for the book, which is really cool. There's something I didn't tell you last time too. My parents were killed by the Fire Nation army. They used the forest as cover. The scouts took out the guards first, my mother among them. Then they buried the village, and now I've lost my friend too. We understand. We've lost so much to the Fire Nation. It doesn't seem right that our own people should betray us like this too. Jet was brainwashed by the Dai Li, just like the girl you knew. Used and then discarded when they had no use for him anymore. And Jin is like, wait. Brainwash, what do you mean by that? And she begins to kind of connect the dots together of like that is one of the only ways it does actually make sense. And they highlight that, yeah, he was captured and taken to Lake Laogai. He died there. And it's hard for Smellerbee to say that. That's where they take their special prisoners. I bet that's where your friend is. Lake Laogai. And Jin makes her decision at this point. Then that's where I'll go and we'll help you. So the team is going to go to Lake Laogai here to investigate, to try and, get Susu back basically, or at least figure out what exactly is going on. And yeah, in memory of all that we've lost, we'll find her. That is the approach. So really cool moment here because while they don't really address the idea of the overall plot in terms of like the money that Jin is trying to gather, the implication, of course, is that, like, well, the whole plot up to now of Jin wanting to gather money to get Susu back pretty much doesn't mean anything anymore because Susu is, part of the Dai Li kind of organization to keep the conspiracy going on within the city. I don't think even if they get the money, she would be returned to them. So of course, Jin makes a somewhat rash decision here, but she's part of the Silver Fangs. This is the sort of stuff she's preparing for, training for. so she's just going through with it here because this is what she's about. And now that she likes the thrill of some of these kind of action kind of moments, she's going to do it, and she has trusted friends now to do it with, and they want to help, to, you know, do something to get back about what happened to Jet, of course. So very, very cool kind of positioning of things within the story. Like, this is not what you expected, like, Smearleby and Longshot to be doing after their appearance in Lake Laogai, is that they are part of the same group as Jin, and they team up to go back to Lake Laogai and make all this stuff happen. So very, very interesting. And again, remember where we're at of, like, you know, the Earth King, I guess, has kind of just happened because we already have the rumors of the Kyoshi warriors in the city and stuff like that. So we are getting very close to the end of the season here. We know that the Fire Nation is about to take Ba Sing Se very, very soon. So exciting times. And this is definitely a shift kind of within the book. The book begins to become a little bit more action, kind of stealth, kind of mission focused after this, rather than the kind of, you know, there's some tension in a bunch of scenes, but like mostly like deliveries in Ba Sing Se and kind of getting to explore kind of the city in that regard. We're much more involved in the action now, just because of what's happening on the other side of the coin, basically, in Ba Sing Se at this point. So exciting stuff. And yeah, we've got roughly just under half of the book left to go. And you know, it obviously highlights that we're going into the finale of book 2, but we're going beyond that as well. We're going into book 3 as well with these characters, and I'm not sure we immediately knew that was going to be the case, like, before the book came out. So it's kind of cool to follow these characters throughout the entire series, because again, especially say Smearleby and Longshot, they don't appear again until like the Promise comic after the series. So we just didn't know what happened to them post Lake Laogai. So cool stuff. But yeah, in the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on this chapter. What are your thoughts on this? Finally, the full Ju Di reveal coming out, Jin learning about the brainwashing here, but also about, you know, the events on the other side of the story, that like what in the days that she was doing deliveries, like Longshot and Smearleby were out, you know, interacting with the Avatar. This is why Jet died and stuff like that. They don't in this chapter. The one thing maybe though is like they don't obviously, which I feel is an obvious connection to make, highlight that with the information that they give to her, she should be able to realize that the guys that Lee was fighting was Jet, and make that full connection. But you know, we'll move on anyway. So yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on chapter 25. But that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.